Hello guys, welcome to my channel. So today I'm back with one more interview video, and today we are going to talk about ServiceNow. So I have given this interview in the past weeks, and I have only went through the first round. I haven't went through other rounds because I did not want to. Now I will later on cover like why did I do that, like was this a stupid mistake or was this a better choice. So that we will talk about later. But first I want you to show the entire interview video where you will see what was the questions and how did I performed and basically what was the interviewer expecting, and afterwards I can let you know like what mistakes I made and how you can prevent those mistakes, how did I prepare for that interview, and lastly like what did the interviewer told me after the interview was over. So that we will talk about later. So first let's watch the video. Okay, so unfortunately I did record the entire video, but I somehow didn't record the audio, and that was my bad. So what I will do here is like I will like be your audiobook here. Like I will tell you what was the question that was asked and how did I solve it basically, and what was the interviewer feedback on that logic and what did he say basically. And then I will also give you another better solution for each problem that was asked on this interview. So let's not waste any time and let's start with it. Okay, so here you can see the question. So this was the very first question that was asked. So now let me tell you what was the question. So here you can see the input here. So input was something like this, having zeros, and output should be like the zeros. All the zeros in the available array should be at the right side of the another array. So here what was the logic that I used is like I counted all the zeros, like which how many arrows you can see, and that count is in this variable count of 0. Then I created another array which is going to be your output array, and here I have created with the same size of the input array because that is going to be the thing. Now what I did is I iterated over entire array, and if I find that there is one or n numbers of 0, then I'm incrementing the variable so that I can keep the count of zeros, and that is why this is being done here. Else what I'm doing is I'm just putting the elements into my result array, and I'm incrementing j++ so that I can later on at the right side of the array can insert all the zeros. So let me give you another demonstration here. So this is our input array. So if we iterate over this, so here 1 is going to be our 0th index. So if I go by this logic, so 0th index is not equals to 0, so it will not increment count of 0, and it will put my first element of this array into my result array. So it is going to be the first element of this result array is going to be 1. So that is okay, output is 1. Now iteration will happen and I is now 1. Now I found the 0, so it will increment this count of 0 to 1. So now this is 1 and it will not go inside this else condition. Again the iteration happens and I becomes 2. So for this second 0 1 2 I can see that the element value is 3. So what will happen, it will not go inside this if, it will go inside this else condition. Now j index, so previously we only filled one element here, so j should be 1 here. So here the first index is going to be 3, which is like this, and similarly I keep filling all the elements and keep 0 aside, and afterwards I will have another for loop, and there I will start from this jth index, like from where I have left all the elements. Like there is a space left for all the zeros now, so j here should be 3, 0 1 2 3. So from 4th element I should be start with zeros. So for the count I will do that. But good thing to catch here is that here I'm not actually doing that. Here I'm just printing the elements. Why? Because the default element value for an int array is 0. So which means that if I leave these two aside, then I don't have to actually fill them. They will obviously be 0. So there is no need for another for loop. So that is how I optimized this, because I couldn't think of a better approach, but the interviewer was happy with it. Unfortunately, he was questioning on this, like how will these two zeros come. So I had to let him know that there is a default element value for an int array which is going to be 0. So we don't have to actually fill zeros, it will obviously be 0, right? So that was that, and somehow we went ahead with the next question. Now there can be multiple approaches here also, and I will give you another approach which can be considered bit more better than this one. So let's take a look at that. Okay, before moving to the code, one more thing I would like to point out here is that there is no need for this variable count of 0, because ultimately we are incrementing it, but there is no use of it, right? Because if you are just putting the elements into another array, then obviously it is going to be 0 where you are not putting anything. So there is no need for this condition, incrementing this variable, it won't be required. Now let's look at the code of what I think could be little better than this. Okay, now this can be the another logic. So here the input array is like 1 2 0 3 0, so the output should be like 1 2 3 and 0 0. Now here what I have done is I have did swapping here. So taking care of swapping is like, if you see that there is no 0, then swap, otherwise leave it that, right? So if I run this code, so you can see that the output is okay, like it is what we were expecting. So let me summarize this one more time. Like I don't know if I should, because this is simple swapping. So if I don't see any 0 in my input array, then what I will do is I will swap. So these steps are for swapping, and I'm getting one more variable which is j, which is to like pointing out that okay, now these and these values should get swapped. So it's like I will keep note of the element on which I have swapped before, right? So this is like that. And also one more thing to notice is that there is no output array. So there is efficiency on size also, that we are not creating another array of the same size, we are actually working on the same array. So that is how it is also more efficient. So this can be another logic if you want to show, but it needs a lot of thinking. Lot of thinking as in to go there, like okay, we can do swap here also, right? So that is that. Now let's move on to the second question of the interview. Okay, so this is the second question, and here the interviewer was asking, like let's say we have a linked list, and that linked list is having duplicates. So how will you remove duplicates from your linked list? And again, we cannot use any existing libraries, so it's like a custom linked list, and which is what we are using. So there we have to create our own functionality to remove duplicates. So now what I did basically, so here imagining that I have a head node while inserting the elements to the linked list. So what I did is I used that head node as the current pointer, and till I reach at the end of the linked list, I'm iterating over each node, and I'm checking if the current node is matching with any other node or not. So it's like I'm having two pointers, one is going to, like both of them will start from the same place, and then I will check if, so it's like using two for loops, like that is why we have two while loops, and I'm just checking if this one is being repeated anywhere else in the linked list, and then same goes for 2, and similarly same is happening. So if that is the case, like if let's say for 2 I'm facing 2 again, then what will happen is I will remove the link of this 2 and I will point it now to 4. So that is what I'm doing here by using next pointer, and that is how I'm doing. So here I forgot to check if node is null or not, because the second for loop should have a termination condition also, otherwise it can lead out to null pointer exception. So this is the logic. Again, like I could not think of any other logic other than this. I can Google this, but again that can be your task also. Like you can think of some more ways to figure out like how you can do this. So this is it. Like I have done this problem before also, so that is why it was easy, and I forgot this condition basically. So it was then pointed out by the interviewer that your code will not work because you don't have this condition, but that's okay. I got the idea and then I figured it out. So this was the second question. Now moving on to the third. So here you can see input, 2 inputs and 1 output. So here we have 2 input array. So what we are doing is so we have to print out the common intersection of these 2 arrays. So that was the question here, that like here we have 8 and 9 and 8 and 9 as common, so it should be printed. So as many numbers are common in between, then we have to create another array and print it out. Right, so that was the question. Now I was thinking and I gave out few scenarios or like few ways that I can cover this question, but he was not happy. He was thinking on a particular way, like can I use merge sort here, can I use another thing, like he was really specific about the logic. So I couldn't figure out because like I was thinking on my own logic and that required some thinking. So the logic that I gave him was, so it was this one. So I used 2 pointers I and j basically, and I iterated over the entire array using these 2 pointers. So here in this is my first array, this is my second array, and I have 2 pointers I and j. I is being used for array 1 and j is being used for array 2. And remember one thing here is that these both arrays are sorted. So if I do the comparison of ith pointer at 0th index and jth pointer at 0 index, and if they both are not equal and if they are greater or less than, depending on that I can move my pointers ahead. It could be I, it could be j. So here that's why I have these 3 conditions. So what I'm doing here is, if ith of array 1 is greater than jth of array 2, in that case I'm incrementing j, because I is greater and I am missing j. That means that j is lesser than I, and I know that the values are going to increase by each position. So if it is not equal or lesser, then in that case I have to move forward. So whichever pointer is lesser, that I have to move forward, and that is why I'm incrementing j here. And that goes same for the second condition. So if j is greater than I, in that case I'm incrementing I++. So what I'm trying here is, I'm trying to find a match. So it's not necessary that both the 8 will come at the same position. They could be at any place, and that is why we need 2 pointers here, and that is what I did, right? So this is the logic for that. Now let's check the last question. Okay, so this was the last question. So here you can see a 2D matrix, and what we have to do here is we will be given a word or a value to find in this array, and that we have to figure out. So the question was relative to dynamic programming, but I tried to figure it out by traversing over x-axis or y-axis, you can say, so horizontally and vertically. So I was just trying to see, like, if I'm starting from 0, 0, which is this 10, so I can move ahead only if it is lesser than 29, and if it is lesser than 29, then keep moving ahead. Once you reach 30, then drop down. So here the problem was in my scenario is that I didn't thought of that these all the rows are sorted also. So that way I had to be very clear about my logic, but unfortunately this logic didn't work. So the interviewer guided me, and he told me, like, you can try from the end of the row. So here I tried, like, till I reach a value which is lesser than 29, I have to keep going left, right? So I will start from 40 and I will go left to 30 because it is greater than 29, and then I will go to 20, but now this 20 is less than 29, so in that case I won't go to 20, I will go to 35 here. Now 35 is greater than 29, which is okay, so I will move forward, and here it is 25, so I will not come here, I will come to 37. Now I will move forward, but I can see that this is an exact match, so I have reached the place where I wanted. So that is how I came to this logic, but it was again guided by the interviewer, so it didn't count much basically. So we had a long discussion here, like what we can do, and basically we tried to solve it in multiple ways. But this was all theoretical because we didn't had enough time left, and the agenda was never to complete 4 questions. So that is how this interview went. And now let's cover topics like why did I not went to the second round and what was the interviewer feedback. Okay, so the very first question is, how did I apply for this job? Like, how did I even got the call from ServiceNow? And this question could be yours because I have seen a lot of people asking like, I am not getting calls from this and this organization. So how are you basically getting the calls? So now this is LinkedIn, and if you are not aware about it, I would recommend like please make a profile here, because this is the professional networking site for us professionals basically, where we can connect to every professional, we can apply for a job, we can talk to other developers, professionals basically, right? So this is a very good platform for like managing social networks. So that is that. Now this is a page of ServiceNow, and here you can see all about ServiceNow, but here you see a tab for jobs. So I went through the jobs posting. Basically, I did not went to the ServiceNow posting. I was going through the job posting, which is available here. And there I applied for a job at ServiceNow, and fortunately I got a call from the recruiter asking about all the details and when can he schedule basically, right? So that is how I applied for the job. Now the second question, how did I prepare for this interview? So there is this website LeetCode. I'm not again sure if you are familiar with it or not, but it's again a programming website where you can solve the problems, competitive programming you can do. And good thing of this website is like for every product based organization like Fang Mang, or for every service based organization, or for other organizations, you will find a selective list for all the questions that have been asked to the previous interviews basically. So this is how it will look like after you click on this problems tab, and here you can see that there are competitive programming options also. Whatever questions you have done, it will show here, and the acceptance rate of all the test cases that have been successful. Now you don't have to do all the problems. If you were to explore, then yeah, there are a lot of questions here, and I would not recommend it. So either you can click on a particular tag here for an organization, or what I would say is like there is this list of top interview questions. So here if you see this lock kind of a thing, that means that these are for only paid customers, otherwise they all are free. So I would recommend you to go to this list and explore the top 100 questions if you can. Otherwise go slow, make a marker like 10 10 10 10 10 and reach 100. So you have to solve like that. If you do that, then what will happen, you will gain confidence, you will gain enough exposure towards programming, and you can say competitive programming basically. And if your luck struck out, then maybe the interviewer will ask you the same question that you have just practiced, because I have seen that few people have faced the same problem that they have practiced. And if you do face that problem, don't let them know that you have done this problem before. Just act normally and try to figure out the problem and then solve it, so that they won't be able to understand maybe that you have done it before, right? So that should be it. Now this is how you can prepare for the interview questions, and this is how it should be done for every organization, I think, right? Because nowadays no matter the experience, everyone is asking DS and algo questions, and I would say like that's again controversial, but that's different topic. Now let's move to the another question. Now what mistakes did I make during the interview? So the only mistake, or the mistake that I can think of right now, is that I was pacing faster. It was like I was not thinking a lot deeper, rather I was just trying to solve the problem quickly, which was a bad idea, right? Because I was not able to think a lot more efficiently, or I couldn't actually optimize my code. I was just thinking of a single logic and thinking on it and just writing the code. So how can you prevent that? That is another question. So what we can do basically is take some time, take few minutes, think about it, think out loud basically, so that the interviewer may be able to know that you are not doing something else, you are thinking, right? So that is that. Once you are able to done that, then maybe try to make your interviewer understand that okay, this is the logic that you are trying to solve, or maybe show him, right? So whatever logic you are thinking, tell him. If he seems okay with it, then you can write the logic, otherwise you can modify the code or logic, right? So that is that, and that is how you can avoid mistakes. Now the next question is, what was the feedback of my first interview round? So it was positive because I was able to solve 3 problems out of 4. And the feedback was positive in the sense that I was going to make to the second round, which was system design interview, and it should be HLD and LLD interview. And why didn't I go to that round? Because ServiceNow is a very good product based organization, and I don't know if anyone should avoid this. So at the end of the interview, I was trying to ask the interviewer that what kind of project he is currently working on and what tech stack he is currently using. And for me, that was the only factor because of which I didn't decide to go to ServiceNow, because they were using their own tech stack. They were not using Java 8 or any Java version. Basically, they were not even using Spring Boot or any other framework, MVC framework. They were using their own libraries. Now what was the disadvantage for me is like I wanted to gain exposure, so that if I sometime like let's say after a few years I try to move out to another organization, maybe I have something to show for. Because if I am using the same tech stack in another organization, that would be beneficial for me. But if I'm not using that tech stack, then I'm getting further and further from my previous experiences, right? Because now I'm going to start from scratch on that libraries on which I don't have enough exposure. Now some people will say like the libraries that ServiceNow or other product based organization have are similar to what we have in Spring and in Spring MVC. But again, you have to learn it from scratch, right? And maybe you need some time, maybe your feedback will depend on that, like how like quickly you are able to grasp that. Maybe you're not comfortable with it, even then you have to work on it, right? So for me, that was a con, and that is why I did not want to move toward the second round. Maybe it is not for you. If not, then yeah, ServiceNow is a very good organization. You can surely move to that. And this is it for this video. I really hope you liked the content. If you did, don't forget to like the video, and please share and subscribe to my channel. Don't share the channel, just share the video if you want, and subscribe to my channel. So I hope we will meet in some another video. Till then, have a good day, stay safe, and bye bye.